Good morning. So today for math, you guys are going to be doing a sheet that's attached to Seesaw. You do not have a math paper in your math packet for today's lesson because I wanted us to practice another day with adding those two-digit numbers and one-digit numbers or two-digit numbers that make us have to change those ones around into a 10. So I want to do a few examples with you on the board before you start practicing on your own paper today. Now, on your paper that's attached to Seesaw, you can either print it. If your parents need me to email it to them, just have them send me an email or a message on Seesaw, and I can email that to them if they can't print it. Or you can take out your notebook and write the problems down. But if you write the problems down, you need to be sure that you line them up. Like, for example, right here, how I have 83 and 19. I made sure my 9 is right under my 3 and my 1 is right under my 8. So if you write them, you need to be sure that you line them up correctly. Otherwise, you will not add and get the correct answer. Okay? All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is making sure that you're adding the ones first. And this is how, if we were at school, this is how I would show you to make sure you're adding the right numbers. So I'm going to take my red marker, and up here first we're going to add 45 plus 7. I'm going to draw a line straight down that separates my tens place and my ones place. Okay, just if you think about the place value straws that we do on the calendar, so we have our ones and then we have our tens and then we would go on to have our hundreds. So up here I'm going to put an O for 1 and a T for tens. Okay, so my tens are under here, my ones are under here. Okay, so now I'm going to add those, and you can do this a couple of ways. If you remember your fast facts, you know that 7 and 5 equals 12. Okay, if you can't do them that quickly and you still need to draw, that's okay too. So if you draw, you're going to draw the number of ones represented by each digit that you're adding together. So here I have a 5, so I'm going to draw 5 ones. Okay, and that represents my 5. Here I have 7, so I'm going to draw 7 ones. And remember, I like to put them in rows of 5. Okay, so now I can see right here that my 5 ones and my 7 ones is going to make more than a 10. Okay, and anything, or more than a 9, anything larger than 9 has to move over to the tens place. It can't live in the ones place anymore. So I can see I have 5 here and I have 5 here, and I know that 5 and 5 make 10. So I'm going to circle this group and know that they are no longer ones. I'm going to cross them out. They become a 10. Okay. So over here, I can only write how many ones I have. Well, when I drew my 5 and my 7, I know I can put 2 groups of 5 together to make a 10. So that 10 is going to move over here. That leaves me how many ones? 1, 2. So I'm going to put a 2 in my ones place in my answer for my sum. And then I have this 10 over here. Okay, so it can't stay over on the one side. So I'm going to put it right here. I always like to put a 1 or however many 10s I'm moving over and put a circle around it so that I can remember I need to add that. Don't forget that. So now I have the 4 10s plus 1 more 10, which gives me 5 10s. So 45 plus 7 equals 52. Okay? Now let's try another one with just a 1 digit and a 2 digit that we have to regroup on. Okay? And parents, if you are working with your child on this, this is what we called borrowing and carrying. And in this case, this is carrying because we're moving over. We're carrying our ones over to our tens place. When we get to subtracting, that would be our borrowing our ones from our tens place. So here again, we have 36 plus 8. So I'm going to draw my line that separates my tens and my ones. I'm going to label the tops. You don't have to do that. I'm doing that for you just so you can see with my T and my O for 10 and 1. Okay, so now I have 6 in my ones place first. So again, you can add those two together in your head. You can do mental math. You can draw whatever it is that you need to do. If you don't need to draw, this is what that would look like. So if I add 6 plus 8, I could think about my doubles. And I know 6 and 6 is 12. And 8 is 2 more than 12, or 2 more than 6. So I could add 2 more to that 12 and it would give me 14. Or I may just quickly know that 6 plus 8 equals 14. So if you don't need to draw, and you add those two together and you get 14. So in the number 14, you have 4 ones and 1 10. So that means I'm going to have to move something over to my tens place. What do I have left in my ones place there? I have 4 ones. Okay, so there's my 4 ones. Okay, now I had that 10 because 6 plus 8 equaled 14. That 10 is going to move over here to my tens place. I'm going to put a 1 up there for the 110 that I made when I added 6 and 8 together to get 14. And now I can add my tens place. 1 plus 3 equals 4. Okay, so that's what it looks like if you draw. This is what it looks like if you don't have to draw. And you can just use mental math or your math facts. This is why it was important for you guys to learn those math facts that we've been doing. Okay, so now let's try one where we're adding a 2-digit and a 2-digit number. Okay, again, I'll separate the ones in the tens column just to make it easier for you to see. I know sometimes on the video it may be a little bit harder. Okay, I've labeled, here's my tens and my ones. Okay, so I'm going to, I'll draw again this time. I have 3 ones here in the ones place, so I'm going to put my 3, 1, 2, 3, and then here I have 9. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, now this is how I would do this one. I've got these 2 numbers here. 9 is much larger than 3, okay? So I'm gonna look, I know I have 9 ones right there. How many more ones do I have to put with that to make a 10? Yes, just 1 more. So I'm going to circle that 1 up there in my group. Okay, so there's a group of 10. If I count them, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So those would come off of this side as ones and make a 10. And we'll move it over in just a second. Okay, so how many ones does that leave me on that side? Outside of my circle, I have 1, 2. So I'll put a 2 here in my ones place as my part of my sum. And then remember, I have this 10, so I've got to move it over here. Okay, he moved over here. And now I'll add my tens place. So I have 1 plus 8, which equals 9, plus 1 more, which equals 10. So I want to show you what happens. I don't have another place over here to move it to. I don't have a digit in my hundreds place, but I'm going to just write down that 10 right there. And so my answer makes a digit in the hundreds place. So my answer, or my sum, to 83 plus 19 would be 102. Okay, if that happens when you're adding your tens place and you don't have another number over in your hundreds place, you just write it down. Okay, all right, so let's do one more together, and then you all can practice on your paper that's attached to the student template section on Seesaw. Remember, you don't have one in your math bag. You won't take anything out of your math bag today. Okay, so one more time, let's draw to separate our ones and our tens. All right, so this time I'm going to do it without drawing, just like we did up here. All right, so if I add 4 and 6, that's a pretty easy one. 4 plus 6 equals, if you said 10, you're correct. So I'll just write it over here. There's right here. 4 plus 6 equals 10. Okay, so in my ones place, I have a 0. Okay, that means I don't have anything. I won't have anything left in my ones place, but I have to put something there. Okay, so I'll use that 0. And then I have 1 in my tens place. Okay, so 4 plus 6 equaled 0 ones and 1 10. So I'll move that 10 over here. Okay, so now I've got 1 plus 2 equals 3, plus 2 more equals 5. So 24 plus 26 equals 50. Okay, it's okay if you need to get your parents' help, but parents, let them have productive struggle. make them think a little bit before you start to kind of guide them. Let them try it. And then a lot of times what I do when they try something, if they miss it, I don't automatically tell them what they did wrong. I ask them to go back and look at it again. And a lot of times they can figure it out on their own without me having to tell them, which I think makes them a better learner. But we don't want them to keep going with the wrong answer. So if they continue to struggle, then walk them through it step by step and help them to solve it. Okay. All right. Thank you. Have a good day. Good luck adding your numbers.